Hello everybody, Penny Clark here. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I created this Snowflake sky that I used on the frame of my piece for the Winter Splendor class. This was a free pattern on the Artist Club website that we used to have available. It's by Linda Lover, and I had this frame from a convention at the Tropicana Creative Painting a long time, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but when I saw this pattern, I knew this would be perfect. And so that as you know, this comes in two pieces. There's a frame that goes around with the snowflakes cut out, and I use the same effect for that frame that has the cut out on it, and then I used it for the back. If you were going to do a large ornament and suspend it from the ceiling, this would be a really nice effect for the back as your piece, as your snowflake rotated, or if you wanted to decorate a back of an ornament. In the pattern, this design was on an ornament. It was in 2007, so it's been a little while. So I've prepped my page in my sketchbook with white gesso and then a coat of the titanium white paint as I direct you, or as given in the directions. And that gives the paper some body, because the sketchbook paper is not necessarily heavy enough, and sometimes it leaks and runs through. And also, another thing that I've done is I put a tea towel on my table, because this is a watery effect and it runs over. And I have a piece of plastic from a cereal box that I separate my pages so that when it runs over onto the edges the way it often does, it doesn't get on my other pages and ruin whatever I have on the other side. Then I have some plastic wrap that's ready to go. It doesn't matter if it's all crinkled up, because that's actually, how we're going to use it, but you might want to stretch it out so you can use it a little bit easier. You have 2 containers of water, one for clean and one for your blue paint. We're using navy blue as our top paint for the top coat effect, Americana. Some brushes I like to use for watercolor effects are these. These are my watercolor wash brushes. I've acquired quite a collection, I guess. These that are white are called hake brushes. They're flats, and they're goat hair, and they're super soft. They're very good for creating nice soft clouds or just nice color, watercolory backgrounds. One of them is going to be my clean water brush. These are flat wash brushes. This one is a 1.5 inch from Blick synthetic, and this one is a Grumbacher 1.5 inch wash brush. Those are some other brushes. In a pinch, you could use a one of these brushes that you'll find at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're very cheap. These hake brushes are not very expensive brushes. This one would be a little bit more expensive than the hake brushes. And this is just a chip brush. You could use this in a pinch. I often use this to spread my gesso because gesso can ruin your brushes. It's quite thick, and this will take a lot of wear and tear. So this is dry and ready to go. I have my palette paper and my paint out, and as you can tell, I've been practicing a little bit, so it's run, like I said, in the directions. You don't want to have the same piece for your white prep paint as you do for this, because they'll run together and then you won't have the transparent look that you need. You'll need paper towels in case that this makes a big mess that you're not prepared for. And we're going to make our wash paint by dipping our wet paintbrush, the one that's going to use the blue paint, into the puddle, the edge of the puddle of blue paint, and spreading it out, and you can see the different shades of the blue that makes a wash. Now I'm ready to use my clear water, and I'm going to get in frame here, and I'm going to put some water on my prepared surface. Now, since I'm in my sketchbook and it doesn't dry or absorb the water like a piece of wood does, I'm going to use a paper towel, and I'm going to blot out a little bit of it because it's just not the same as a piece of wood. You might even want to do that on your surface. It's up to you. So now I'm going to take my paint, my brush for the paint, blue paint. I'm going to load it up, and I'm going to put out some of this blue paint. It isn't really necessary to be like very specific about, like make your lines and straight. You don't necessarily want to do that because this effect is not meant to be a very even stroked surface. Okay, I got something there. Take that off. And I'm going to put on different amounts of blue so that you can see what a heavier amount might mean as opposed to a lighter area. And I don't want to let my brush that has the paint sit in my water. So I'm going to try to clean most of it out, and then I'll set it down flat on my tea towel so that it has a chance to rest while I do this next step, and I'll wash it out before it dries. Oh boy. Plastic wrap is always a challenge, isn't it? All right. Might help to have a partner to help spread this plastic. Anyway, then you take your plastic before the surface dries and you pat it down on your wet paint and you let it rest. You can even move around your wrinkles and crinkles any way you like. And then you can clean your brush. While you're waiting, give it a minute. Excuse me with my arm in the way. Here are are the stencils that I used for the next step. This one, this was my actual stencil that I used on the surface. This is from Creative Coach, Lori Spelt's Snowflake base background. It's called Snowflake Sampler. Some others I have is this one that I think I bought at maybe the dollar store, or maybe in Joann's. It's called One Heart, One Mind, and it has good size snowflakes. I know that there are a lot of snowflakes out there, a lot of smaller ones. Here's another one. I don't know if you can see it very well at the top of my hand, but the snowflakes are really small, and I wouldn't suggest that you use this one, because on this one, well, it's not too easy to use because this cutouts are little, and sometimes it's hard to get the nice little intricate designs with your brush because the space is so small. So I really recommend the ones that are larger than this, which is about an inch. It'll be easier to work with unless you've done a lot of stenciling. Okay, so this is rested a little bit, and I think it's ready to lift. You could let it dry even more. Go get yourself a cup of coffee or take a minute break. But I'm going to lift it and see what we have. And you can see the wonderful broken effect that the plastic wrap creates. I even might go back in and make a couple more little presses on it if I like, to create more effect on it. And it's removing part of the paint that was still on there. I will show you a page that I did earlier, so you see how that one looks, and you'll see that there's a difference in applications. This is another page where I didn't have quite as much paint, and you can still see a nice soft snowflakey effect. So I hope you have fun practicing your snowy sky. And I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.